All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to use my 7-layer trick in Lightroom to save you a lot of time, especially for environmental portraits. This may not be a substitute for high-end studio beauty shots and all that, but for environmental portraits like these, this is perfect. And you get to save a lot of time. You don't spend any time doing dodging and burning. Once you get the hang of it, it's pretty fast, pretty easy. So as you can see here, this is where this image started from, and this is where it's at. Let's get a little closer. Now you can see that there's still detail on the face, and that is very important. So we've been able to retain detail on the face with this process. I'm gonna get even closer here. Let's see. 1:1. You can see the skin pores. I mean, there's still some blemishes up here that I haven't removed, but the point of this is to show you how I use the layers. Alright, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to edit this image from scratch and also use my multiple layers to edit the skin in a very quick fashion. Okay, this is not going to take several hours of dodging and burning and stuff like that, but it's pretty much the same concept. So as in dodge and burn, you are dodging rough areas of the skin. You're trying to bring pixels that are darker next to pixels that are lighter. You're trying to bring the exposure up so that there's a smooth transition, and that creates the illusion of the skin looking smooth. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do in Lightroom using multiple layers. I keep calling them layers because when I finish, you understand that they're actually layers. And so yeah, stay tuned. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do well to subscribe, hit the red button, and hit the notification, and there are more videos to come. All right, so I'm going to jump right in. First thing I do is temperature. I probably will bring this up a little bit, and maybe something like this. I'm going to leave the tint alone. I'm going to expose for this just a tad. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is give it a little bit of a contrast, and then I'm going to, with off-camera flash, if you kill your highlights, you kill the image. It's like the pop is dead. So don't kill your highlights. I know some do that for all their outdoor pictures, but don't do that for off-camera flash. You want to leave the highlight there. And I'm going to open up the shadows quite a bit, and there we have some green stuff back there. I'm actually going to open up these highlights a bit. I will brush it off of her skin later on, so just remind me. All right, so I'm going to open the whites a bit. So I'm going to brush these whites also off her skin later on, just because I want to bring out the ambient background a little bit more. It's a beautiful background. So, and then I'm going to crush the blacks just by one, and I'm going to give it some vibrance right here. So now that we've done this, before I move away from here, let me do the corrections I wanted to make here. So I went plus 82 on the shadows. Let me keep it at like 75, and the whites. So I'm just going to get a brush, and then you double click the effect to make sure everything is 0. And here I'm going to bring down the shadows a bit and bring down the whites a bit. I think I brought down the shadows a little bit more than the whites. And then I'm going to get a flow of something like 59 here, and I'm just going to roughly hit the hot spots. So I have the masking on, that's why you're seeing the red. So I'm going to take the masking off, press O, and it's gone. And I'm going to hit this these spots that seem to be getting too much of the brightness, because we're going to do some more a lot more brightening to the skin, so I don't want that to be a problem just yet. All right, so now that, oh yeah, I'm supposed to bring the highlights down. Yeah, there. Okay, let me shut it back up a little bit. All right, so I just use this brush to kind of make the transition between the subject and the background not too steep, you know, because I increased the highlights to get the skies to be a little brighter on the whole image. You can use a brush for all this, but I figured that doing it globally and just brushing it off of the skin is much better. All right, so we move on. So we have one brush dot already down here. We're going to leave that there. And moving on. So I'm not going to do any curves just yet. I may or may not do it at all because this image I kind of just like the contrast and the pop. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to give it the blues, because this increases the color in everything, and it usually does too much for the skin, and the skin falls under the red primary a little bit. So I reduce the saturation here a little bit, and then I go to the oranges and I lift these up a little bit. So I'm doing all this from scratch because I want people who are new to Lightroom to understand everything and not just click on the preset. But after you do all this, you save it as a preset. If you on my far left here, I have lots of presets, over 100 presets for almost every time of the day, almost every situation. And so yeah, all right, just putting that out there. All right, right now I'm beginning to realize that there's a little bit of magenta in the image. So I'm kind of going to, I can go to magenta here and just feel it out, take it off, bring it back on. So I'm going to reduce the saturation by just a little bit. And then, now we finished our general processing. Now it's time for us to dive into the layering. Okay. Now, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to select her skin, her entire skin. Any skin that is showing, I'm trying to select it. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit control and scroll down, or just click the top corner here and pick one. First, you reduce the size, find a brush, make the brush big. When I say big, okay, so double click on the brush effect to make sure everything is back to 0, and now increase the size of the brush. You don't need any feather for this scenario. And then, all right, so make sure you hit the O button on your keyboard. Make sure you select your auto mask. Make sure your flow is 100%, and then you come and find the most popular part of the skin. But most importantly, you are doing the face, so you can start from there. You can do some mini adjustments afterwards. So this very first layer is important because we are going to duplicate this several times, maybe 7 or more times. So we have to make sure we get it where we want. All right, so I'm going to click on the forehead right here, and with the O button, it has automatically selected all the skin. And you can actually go into this a little bit to do a little bit of adjustment. Hold on. So when I scroll in, now I can get a smaller brush and take off the auto mask and now give it some feather so it's not abrupt. And now I can brush in these parts of the faces that didn't fully get the juice. Be careful, but you don't need to be too careful. And for what we are going to do, don't worry about the eyes and stuff. You can actually, I would advise you to brush over the eyes for now. We will take it off later, but you understand why. So I'm gonna leave the eyebrows because if they don't get the dodge and burn, they're still fine. So the most important thing is you make sure the face gets enough of the brush, and sometimes if the light is even, it gets it in the one click. But in this case it was getting dark, so the light fell off the face quite fast. Well, I had it too close to the face, so the fall off was fast, and that's why I have to do these mini adjustments. Now that we have full selection, this is our first layer. Okay, we go to the we go to the range mask, and then we select luminance. Now in luminance, this is where the dark pixels are, this is where the bright pixels are. When you move these two in the middle, this is where the midtones are. Even by leaving the range mask on, when I move stuff, you see what happens. It's like when I move this guy back, you will see that not all the face is going to get that brush. It's going to look for the darker pixels to focus on. When I move it all the way, it's going to find the darkest pixels. Now to see this more easily, hit the show luminance mask, and then you can zoom into the face a little, because everything else is secondary, so I like to keep it on the face when I'm doing these adjustments. So this is the farthest back this can go, and it's showing me where it's going to hit, and these are places I would have hit myself with some brightness. But so we're going to start from there. This very first layer, I'm going to give it let's do some math here. I'm going to give it point. You want to give the very first one as little as possible, because it's going to continuously keep getting brightness from the other layers. So this first layer, I'm going to give it 0.07, and then make sure everything else is off, and let me take this off. Let's see. All right, so now you just gotta trust the process, okay? And then you come to the dot again, and then you right click on the dot and you duplicate. Now you have a second layer. The second layer is also trying to give 0.07, but the second layer we want to tackle more of the pixels, ones that are not as dark as the first ones, but darker than most of the rest. So I open it up a little bit more, and as you can see, from the side of her face, now we have a little bit more orange on the side of her face. So look at this. If I close it all the way, the orange is not there. If I open it up a little bit here, you can see, oops, not too much. So I want to tackle these ones. These ones I'm also going to give 0.07, which is fine. But guess what? Now the first one has 0.14, because it's actually still getting all that I'm getting, unless I move this slider from the left side. Okay, so I just realized that the very first one I forgot to apply smoothing to it, and sometimes too much smoothing is not good. So I'm gonna keep the smoothing at 59 here, and if you forget to add something, or what you can do is you go to the pin and you hold the head of the pin and you pull it away, okay? And now you click on the other one carefully. Now you can add your smoothing to this 59. So that one was the first layer, and then you can go back and take this guy, grab it, and then go put it back on top of this guy. Okay, so now we have two layers we're working with. Now I'm going to create the third layer. Duplicate. So now that I created the third layer, I'm going to open up this guy a little bit more. So the numbers here can also help you. You know, first time we were like all the way here, 06, 13. Now we're gonna go to about 30, 33 sounds good to me, and I'm going to leave the exposure at the exact place. I'm happy with that increment, so I'm going to leave it at that, and that's the third one. And I'm going to duplicate again so the fourth layer, and with the fourth layer I'm going to leave everything the same as it is, and this time I'm going to go all the way up a little bit more till I'm not getting the dark side of the nose. And so that is that layer. And now in between that, you should be checking your skin to make sure it's still looking like a person. Okay. All right, so now that we've done that, I'm going to go and do a fit layer because I looked at the skin and it's still, so I'm losing a lot of contrast on the face because what's happening is I'm bringing the darker and midtones closer together. Okay, that's what's happening. So now I'm going to do the fit layer, and I'm going to check to see what's happening here. Okay, all right. So that is the fit layer, and the fit layer, I'm going to open it up a little more. I think this is going to be the last stage that I'm going to open because I'm going to keep it right here for now. Yes. So now we do the sixth layer. So the sixth layer is kind of like the most important one. You go to the sixth layer and you duplicate. And when you duplicate the sixth layer, you go and turn off the masking, the range mask, and then hit your O key. Now you realize that everything is sharp, right? So I'm gonna hit the Alt button, and then I'm actually going to erase this sharpness from vital places. For example, on the eye, so this seventh layer is going to be the layer that I use to soften the skin using the texture slider, the good old texture slider. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna go a little bit because I have the density of my brushes is not all that. I keep it around 72. So I'm gonna go down here and watch this. So now at this point we haven't done any global dodge and burn yet. We're going to do a quick global dodge and burn where we brighten the tip of the nose and the cheeks and the forehead and the chin, and that makes the face contour a little bit, and we're pretty much done. Okay, I haven't even done any spot removal on this image, but I just want to show you the power of the 7 layers. This is where we are now. I'm going to turn off the brushes and you see where we came from. This is where we came from. This is the before, and this is the after. So this is the before, and this is the after. Now, here's the thing. Just the texture slider alone will not make it this, will not make it like this. It's a process because there were not too many hot spots. If there was like too many hot spots on the face, I would actually add an 8th layer, and that layer I would be burning on that layer, and on that layer I'll be burning on that layer. And to burn on that layer, I'm not going to do it for this image because it's not necessary. Just make sure that for your brush you turn on the luminance like before, the range mask luminance, and instead of coming up here, you go up this way, and then you decrease your exposure instead of increase your exposure. So that's how you burn here. For this image, I'm not burning. I'm just dodging for this image. Let me turn this back off. All right. Okay, so at this point, the next thing we are going to do is global dodge and burn. So you pick a brush, and I'm going to just give me a little exposure here, like 0.56, that's fine. And I'm going to make sure my flow is a little low, maybe 25, that's fine. And then I'm gonna go get a brush and global dodge and burn. So pretty much you start from the tip of the nose. I always start from the tip of the nose and make like little circles, and then I keep brushing. I don't use the mask for this because I want to see how much is happening as I'm brushing. And then this side of the nose is dark, but I want the transition to be smooth, so I'm going to give it like 3 swipes here just to help the transition a little bit. And now I'm going to bridge these two, and I'm going to brighten the forehead a little bit as well. And now I'm going to brighten, fake Rembrandt lighting. And she already has great contours on her face, so that makes my work really easy. I don't have to do much. Brush here, and this is a dodge, so sometimes I use it to dodge the lips a little bit, makes them pop a little bit too. And we haven't even edited the eyes yet, but for environmental portrait like this, you only need to do so much to the eye. I'll get back to the eye in a second, but for now, let me just give it a little bit of this dodge. And so this dodge may look like it's not doing much, but it is. Alright, so now that we finished dodging, I am actually going to burn a little bit. So I'm going to go new and burn a little bit here with the same flow. Alright, so I'm going to burn down here a little bit so that it blends with that, and it makes the cheekbones pop a little more. I'm burning. So with the burn, you just reduce the highlights on the brush, and you burn around the sides of the face just ever so slightly. It slims down the face a little bit. Okay, so that's all we've done. So with the 7 layers and with the quick global dodge and burn, let's see the before and after. So this is a before and after, and you can see that we have still retained a lot of the skin texture. The skin detail and texture is there, but you can see that we have still retained a lot of the skin detail and texture, and it's not plasticky smooth, entirely smooth. So from this step going, all you have to do is go in and do quick. So I'm gonna go in here and do quick removal of spots on the face. Make sure it's on heal and that you are healing from places that are close by, because sometimes Lightroom has a mind of its own. I think Photoshop is smarter in this respect, but I just do a lot in Lightroom, so I just like to stay here. Alright, so now that we have removed the spots on the face and stuff, using the spot removal tool in Lightroom. If you don't know how to do that, look that up. There's like tons of videos out there. Now we're going to do some global stuff, and we're pretty much done. One thing we can do while we are in here real quick is that I like to make it a little bit small. I'm going to grab a brush, and then with that brush I am going to double click here, make sure everything is off, and I'm going to give it a little bit of contrast, just a little bit of a contrast. And then now that I have a little bit of a contrast, I will just go over. Now I'm gonna give it a little I'm going to reduce the flow. Flow is already down, Okay, I'm just gonna go over the lips, the nostrils, the eyes, places that you want to be sharp, because all those layers, what they do is that they kind of like slowly blend the pixels, reducing the contrast. So you can do that, and then you can get another brush and just brush over the eye. But for the eye, you can do increase the clarity for the eye and open up the shadows too. So increase the clarity, open up the shadows. And right now, I mean, there's a lot more we can do for the back of the hand and stuff, but I don't want this video to get too long. You know, we are done. So let me show you the before and the after. So this is where we started from, and this is where we are now. The vignette looks a little harsh, but that's not what we're working on today, so I'm just gonna leave that alone. And let's see, let's get a closer look. All right, so you can see that with my 7-layer trick, you can get your image from what you see on the left to what you see on the right. There's a little bit more fine tuning that can be done, like right at the very top here I see some blemish, but I mean, the point is I didn't spend hours dodging and burning. Alright guys, stay tuned. There are a lot of other pictures that I'm going to edit live, maybe from this shoot, maybe not from this shoot, but just stay tuned and keep it interesting. All right, thank you guys for watching. All right, bye.